and we're going to very quickly do a training session having to do with how do you start developing a performance attitude. Then we're going to come back and we're going to start working on platforms. I look at a really good relationship with my dogs is that my dogs just think I'm wonderful. I don't want it to be a dominant thing. If you think of somebody in your life who changed something in you, you really admired them. Maybe it was a teacher. Maybe a teacher did something, prompted something for you, and you remember you just really respected this person and admired them. You didn't fear them, but you really held on every word they said because they had something very unique and special. You knew that they had some sort of knowledge that you wanted. That's the way I want my dogs to look at me. So here's my observation. I came over and I couldn't tell what you were trying to get.
Well, I was trying to get her to put her feet on the chair, but not necessarily get on it. So when she first put her feet on the chair, like right here, that's, and you know, and that, and then I was clicking that, but I just, and so I was, obviously she has no trouble getting on it. I was trying to get her, I was trying to get her to do something that wasn't something that was different that she didn't.
Okay, so what you were going for were just 2 feet on.
Just 2 feet on it, rather than
So you might go, what can I change about the scenario? Could I put a little thing like that on there? So she, could I block it to where there's hardly any room for anything but her front feet? Because she was starting to get frustrated, wasn't she? So if the dog did that, and Kathy's going to comment too, I can see that. If the dog makes that move of something really good, my goal, as long as the reinforcement's working, and that dog wants its reinforcement, right? My goal is, oh God, I want to get it again. If I party too much, I might actually pull them away from that breakthrough a little bit. So yes, you can. And on the other side, you could say, wow, the reinforcement, dog really loves the reinforcement. Can I get another one? Kathy, your comment.
I summarize that the research on jackpotting is not strong in that it speeds learning for the dog. So I think we're really wedded to the idea that if the dog does something super special, it's our responsibility to reward bigger, stronger, better. And that isn't actually that true.
So just a little sample. So we can turn the lights back on. Thanks, guys. So, a lot of people say, well, how are you using them? How big are they? What do you do? Basically, it depends on what you want to do with them. So platforms can be anything, really. You can use cut-up matting. You can use aerobic steps. So the more 90 degree to you leave the dog for this moment of a wait or somebody holding. I did this with my 8-week-old puppy. My husband held the puppy. And I knew as soon as he let her go, what's she going to do? She's going to get on the platform. So if you've got a dog that already is magnetized, that can be what you work on, is assuming your target to your platform. What you're doing is you're giving the dog the visual of what the final product is. Now remember, if you're moving to help prompt the dog to get on, you want to start toning that down. The platform as your body target that you want. So this would be in relation to if you are resetting the dog and you're here and they're going and getting on it, now make use of that. Reset them, throw the treat or hold it over here and then get yourself lined up. So the dog is practicing coming in on this platform in relation to your body target. Does that make sense? So it takes a lot of repetition to build that because they're so used to looking at us and they don't get to look at a face. So building up a bank account for behind takes longer than the other ones. Training positions. Front, left side heel would be your obedience. If that's all you were doing were obedience, you can just work on those. For the freestyle sport, there's a heck of a lot more, including being creative with different positions. So it's just examples of different positions, obviously. Magnetized dog, for sure. Okay, so the finished product, which he already is ready. Are you ready, Lee? about. Okay, the finished product is to look into nothingness, and that, of course, then gives the impression that he's not paying attention. Where's his attention? Did you hear her? About. So you see how the platform helps her make the tight pivot? Okay, so she's still getting her feet about. Now, the secret to this is to get rid of the target for a moment. I want you to notice how high I'm holding the target. It's going to leave her peripheral over the top of her head just briefly, and I'm going to click before she moves. About. So I'm going to let her see it. It's going to leave her peripheral. So before she moves her head to go, where did the target go? I'm marking that she's still looking into that nothingness. Does that make sense? Click, quick. There you go. Good. And you can just walk to the other side. Yeah. Okay. So what you can do is let the click, even though she's going to have come off, just go ahead and come over here and feed, and she'll start realizing, oh, I'm going to, yeah, and that helps her think about the facing the other way too. Click, and then there you go. Very good. Then you're set to do it again. So one of them is pretty easy to see. I'm holding the gold idol up in the air, and that's Listo's cue to do his straight up 4 off the floor jump. So how convenient is it to have that cue when he's away from me than me having to go, jump! So the ring gates, the entrance to that ring, you can turn into a strong visual cue of really good things, right? So always remember that the dogs want the visual information. That's why in agility it's so important the way your shoulders are and your hips. They're noticing all that stuff. So the first thing you're going to do with your assistant is you're going to let them see your new visual cue so that you practice it. It's clear. Your assistant says, yeah, it's consistent. You did it 3 times and you did it the same way, for sure. And you're going to jump start the behavior that's on verbal with just verbal only. So do some reps of just verbal only and see if you truly have it on just verbal. Okay, remember now, you're not saying your verbal while you give the visual. Give the visual, keep quiet, shut up. And after you do your visual, then say your verbal.
What I knew he knows spin on just verbal. I can say spin and he'll spin all over the world. So I thought I have this lovely birthday hat, and when I put it on, I'd like him to spin.
Take your hat off, right? And wait till he swallowed. Here's a good example of the swallow procedure. Hey! He did one behavior over and over and over again, but the flow was good and smooth, and I changed up what I did. So it actually makes it look more complex than it is. But the first thing you're going to do is decide what's my first behavior, what's my second, and if you have a third, what's my third. And try to put them, you can click and treat each one of them if you want. That's fine for now. But just notice where the dog's energy is, because during the click and treat, you've stopped them, and you may be fooled that when you don't click and treat, it won't be very smooth. Okay? Okay, the last behavior in your chain. If it's a duration behavior, in your head you're thinking, I'm going to weave 14 weaves. Only do 1 or 2 before you click and treat. You're just clicking for the response of the last behavior. If it's a crawl, click 1 or 2 steps of a crawl. Don't ask for a huge crawl across the floor. What we're trying to do is get the dog wanting to do that last behavior.